introducing Jay Paglia from the Sports Keg and DaveBets. Where is it? Over there. DaveBets. How's it going, boys?
Good.
Good. Everyone can hear me. Dave, how's all your equipment working today?
It was a close call. Skype tried to automatically update on me. So I had to quickly uninstall it, come off the internet, and then reinstall the old version.
Well, you're here. Wonderful stuff. And obviously we have got the UFC 237 taking place in Rio de Janeiro this weekend, well, on Saturday. First question is of you, DaveBets. You've done some very successful parlay systems, and you've now gone 10-0. You've now released, and it's now you've done 10. So is that why you're doing like the second series? We've got like episode. Is that what you're doing? It's like series 2 now. You're gonna do another run of 10.
Because realistically, parlays should never be involved in a serious bankroll. So it is for fun, but they are very profitable if you can play them the correct way. The whole reason for me doing the season thing is just so people can, understand that cashing out is a good thing to do. Spend some money. You don't just have to sit on your bankroll all year round. You know what I mean? So I'll do it seasonally. So we can just cash out rather than just going over for the whole year and ending up on some stupid high number. Take your money, have some fun with it. You know what I mean?
I see. What about you, Jay? And parlay betting. Do you parlay bet for UFC?
I don't parlay much at all, but if I was going to parlay, I think you could be way more successful parlaying fights than games like in football or basketball, because I think there's less variance in mixed martial arts than there is in like a normal basketball game, let's say. Most of the time the better fighter wins the fight unless he gets caught and somebody lands a punch in the right spot. But other than that, most of the time the best fighter wins the fight.
DaveBets also does obviously the dogs and the odds, and that seems to be winning as well. So what is it? Is it the bookmaker just is not pricing them right, or I don't know? How does that work?
I'm a betting god. That's what it is. Sorry.
But if the favorite always wins, then the dogs and the odds.
The favorite doesn't always win. The favorite doesn't always win. In fact, if you were to continuously bet the favorite, you would be losing. If you continuously bet the favorite on UFC for a whole year, you'll be losing by the end of the year without a shadow of a doubt. You need to pick your spots. You just need to pick your spots. That's what it is, and make sure that your probability is matched up with you're picking your right spots. If you don't, if you just aimlessly pick favorites, you're 100% going to lose, as we've witnessed this year with the main events. Favorites are crashing left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Because the book
well, that's the thing.
The same thing is going to happen this weekend as well with Anderson Silva. The bookies are off again, way off.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Why are they off though? Because obviously the better fighter obviously doesn't mean that they have the shorter odds. It's just it's knowing who is the better fighter, and then often it seems that the bookies are pricing it wrong. Why? And I know obviously UFC is growing in it obviously it's tremendously popular, but it's also growing in popularity over like in the UK. They're changing the times a little bit so people can actually watch it. Because over in Costa Rica, and we can go down to the pub and go and watch the fights, which is like really good fun. So that obviously makes you more want to have like a bet on it. So why do you think that the bookies are off with their odds? Obviously for a betting point, it makes it great, but for a bookie, not so much, which is music to our ears. Question to Dave.
Sorry. I don't know. I just think, personally, I think the sport is real fresh still. It's not something that the bookmakers are on top of. If you compare it to basketball, football, any of the other sports, the bookmakers have been doing this for decades. So they're fully equipped with what they need when it comes to betting other sports. But when it comes to UFC, it's still fresh, especially European markets. Some bookmakers still don't have UFC available now. So it's always, I think it's just adjustments that the bookmakers are making, and they're just yeah, they're just not as good at UFC as they may be at other sports and getting correct lines.
Yeah. All right. So, Jason, you've written both the main event breakdown and the co-main event breakdown. Start us off with Namajunas versus Andrade. How do you see that unfolding?
Definitely geeking out over the fight. I like both these fighters a lot. It's great when you get to see the women headline a pay-per-view card because it doesn't happen all that often. I think Andrade presents a big challenge for Rose Namajunas. She's built like a truck. She hits hard. She's freakishly strong for her size. She's going to try to take Namajunas down probably and control the fight on the ground. I think Namajunas is probably my favorite fighter in the UFC now, other than maybe Amanda Nunes in terms of females. She went into the fight with Jędrzejczyk, who owned the division for 3 years. She shocked the world as an underdog at like 5.51. I was on her in that fight. And she becomes the champ. She comes right back in a rematch. She beats Joanna again. Now, the interesting thing about the fight tomorrow night is Andrade has won 6 of the last 7 fights, right? The only person she's lost to in that stretch was the former champion, Joanna. Now, Andrade was able to get Joanna to the ground. She could not keep her there, though. She got up easily. And after she got up, she destroyed her on the feet for 5 rounds. Now, Namajunas does everything that Joanna does, and I just think she does it better. Like, she's got the best range and movement, in my opinion, of any female fighter in the UFC. She's got an underrated ground game. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Her wrestling's really underrated. She's great in scrambles. I think she's better everywhere, and I think she should be the favorite. She isn't. I backed her at 2.15 earlier in the week, but you could still get her right now at 2.0, and I love her.
Well, yeah, no, opened up there 2.2, it has dropped to 2.0. Some bookies you can still get like 2.1. William Hill. Would you agree with what Jay is saying there, Dave?
100%. This is, as I was saying before, the spots. I was saying pick your spots, blah blah blah. Yeah, this is a spot that is a good spot to take the underdog. Rose has cashed as the underdog so many times. So many people. I don't know why people underestimate Rose. She's the champion now. People need to stop underestimating her like they have been for the past couple of years, because it's not going to work out for them. And I actually, at the start of the week, I was seeing everybody talk about Andrade, blah, 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 backing up. But now, as we get towards the end of the week, I see a couple people now are clocking on. And they're noticing that the value is on Rose. There's no value on Andrade. Yeah. Unless she went to about minus 110 or 1.91 on the decimal, there's no value in that. There's no value at all. So... even though I'm not betting Rose because I already have 2 underdogs who I prefer, I do think it is a good bet, and I do side with Rose to win this weekend in Brazil, which is going to be tough. But
yeah, and you both are saying obviously that she is the best in this fight, and yet price is kind of echoing what we were saying at the beginning. Interesting stuff. And moving over to the co-main event here, Sylvia versus Cannonier. Sorry about if I pronounce these wrong. Who do you like here, Jason?
This is a really tough fight. Anderson Silva is probably one of the 3 best fighters in the history of the sport. And I feel bad as an MMA fan that I have to actually watch this guy fight right now. He's almost 45 years old. He's literally withering to dust in front of our eyes, okay? He would absolutely destroy this kid if this was 8 years ago. He's won 1 fight in the last 7 years. And, say what you will about this kid, but he won 3 out of 4 fights when he was a light heavyweight. He's the 10th ranked middleweight fighter right now in the UFC. Is he a traditional top 10 middleweight? No, I don't think so. But he's still, ranked. And if I had to bet this fight, I'm not betting this fight.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to bet the fight, I would probably take the favorite only because Silva is done and he just doesn't know it yet. Like, he's just got to stop fighting. But I will probably avoid this fight, but I lean to Jared Cannonier.
And what's the price for that one? I'm just trying to pull up some odds here. What is
right now I'm seeing like 1.72, which I mean that's like on the tail end where I think I would be willing to go, even though it's going to end up being a small pass for me. But I wouldn't hate anybody for taking that because Anderson Silva's 45 years old, and I think the sport's finally passed him by.
Yeah. I just pulled them up now. Yeah, and funny enough, he opened at 1.67. You could now get as high as 1.75 with Unibets. The bookies I'm quoting of is a European. So back to you there, Dave. Do you agree? It definitely sounds like Jay's made a very compelling argument to back him up at that price. But have you got an official play?
I'm on the opposite side.
I don't blame you, Dave. I
do agree with Jay on the majority of the things that he's saying. Other than I feel like Anderson has a couple more fights against this type of opponent. I keep watching the Jared Cannonier replays, and I'm just not seeing anything from Jared that is going to cause Anderson any problems other than his power. If he can finish Anderson, then I believe he will win it. If we're going to the scorecards, in Brazil, every single punch that Anderson lands, the entire crowd are going to go, way, way. And it's them type of crowds which make the judges scared. And the history of judging in Brazil is atrocious. They will hand that win to their Brazilian fighter. All Anderson has to do is not get knocked out, in my opinion. If he can stay on the outside, throw a couple jabs, couple leg kicks for the 3 rounds, is win the fight. So for me, in my opinion, all he has to do is avoid the knockout. And when I take into consideration the 230 price, and which he opened at, Anderson is one of my underdog players this week. When I go through the cards, I don't pick many underdogs. I try and scour for my favorite 2. So I'll only ever have 2 underdogs. I try to pick my favorite 2, and this week, Anderson Silva is going to be one of them. Probably not now because the odds are declining. I think Jared opened up at 163. And what were you guys saying? Is 175 now or 17 something?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna say I took it off. I took it off screen. It's on one of my pages. No, no, there I am. Gerard is now 1.75, and then Silva is 2.25.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of money that's came in on Anderson. I'm not sure what Anderson's at now, but if he was at 2, I probably wouldn't take him at 2. But I got him at 2.30, which I think, being in Brazil, he's also 9-1 in Brazil. That's another thing we have to take into consideration. He's only been beaten in Brazil once. So, anybody else,
home soil Anderson advantage, if you call it that.
I think, Dave, that's a fair argument, because if you look at the caliber of opponent that Anderson Silva's lost to the last 4 or 5 fights, they are top level guys. They are some of the best in the sport. And this is a massive step down in competition for him, definitely. I think he's as live in this fight as he's been in a long time. So I don't hate anybody for taking Anderson Silva. It's a tough fight.
I like that. I don't hate anybody. That's good. No time for hating in this world. All right. So, Dave, you mentioned that that was one of the underdogs that you're going for, and that you went for 2. So what be your second?
I haven't checked the odds, so I'm not sure if he is even still an underdog. But Kurt Holloway versus Thiago Moises, I'm not sure why the bookmaker had this priced at what it was. Kurt's on a losing streak, but the guy has lost to the Murderers Row. Like, he's losing to guys that are top level competition. I just don't think Thiago is ready for it. I think the bookie may be thinking, oh, Brazil, you know, Thiago, he's got a good record, blah, blah, blah. But nah, Kurt's your guy this week, I think, in the lightweight division. The size difference is huge as well. That's another thing to point out. The size, experience, it's just going against Thiago this week. I'm not sure what the odds are now, but if you can still get Kurt at underdog prices,
you can get him at 212 right now.
212.
Yeah, 2.12 right now.
That sounds all right to me. I'd still take that. Definitely.
Yeah. Are you taking him at that price, Jay?
Yeah, I agree with everything Dave just said, and I think size is a huge factor. So I completely agree. I took him at plus 120, which is what, 2.2, right? The odds screw me up because I'm in the America, but yeah, I took him at 2.2. But I agree completely.
Yeah.
On the feet standing, Thiago, he has no chance. Not a chance. On the floor, maybe, but I don't think he'll be able to take it to the floor. Even though who was his previous Barcelos managed to take him down, but the caliber of opponent, it's two different worlds. So yeah, Kurt and Anderson Silva are my two dogs in the odds players this week.
All right. What are your main plays there this week, Jay, that you feel strongly about for Fight Night on Saturday?
Well, I completely agree with one of the picks that Dave had in his punching parlay, the Guida BJ Penn fight. BJ Penn's another fighter that has absolutely no business fighting on the card. He's another guy on the wrong side of 40. He has not won a fight in the UFC in 9 years. Let's put that into perspective for a minute, right? You're a professional fighter that hasn't won in a decade, okay? Now, he should get destroyed. Clay Guida's been a fan favorite of, like, real MMA fans forever, much like BJ Penn. He's a warrior. He's also 37 years old, but Guida's shown at least his last 3 fights. He's won 2 out of the last 3 fights that he's fought in the last 2 years. I think that he still has gas in the tank. You know what I mean? I think he should be crippling for BJ Penn because he brings serious pressure into the octagon, and the older BJ Penn gets against strikers that really pressure him, he wilts. He's just getting old. And Guida's a guy that bites down on the mouthpiece, and either you're getting knocked out or he's getting knocked out. That's just the way that he fights. Now, he's a minus 700 favorite, which is absurd. I would never bet that ever in the UFC. But you can get him inside the distance at minus 160. I don't know what that is for, like, odds, like, for you guys. But minus 160, and Dave took him inside the distance too, right, Dave, in the punch and parlay? So I completely agree. That's definitely a play for me.
And what are the odds there then, Dave? Do you remember the minus 160?
Clay Guida to win inside the distance was 1.65, and that's what I tipped on the punch and parlay article.
Yeah, and you do 2 bets on the punching parlay, so you're that's the first one. What's the second? 3 this time.
3.
Ooh, you're stepping it up a bit for season 2.
There was 3 last week.
Huh?
There was 3 last week as well.
Was there 3 last week? Okay. Normally it's been 2. Yeah. All right. So 3. So what else you going for in your punching parlay?
Barcelos, the guy I was talking about who beat Kurt Holloway. He's also fighting on the card. The guy is a monster. I can't see how any fighter debuting in the UFC deserves to fight a guy like this, because it's just not going to go down. Wow, it was a last minute. It was a last minute arranged fight, but the guy is fighting. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Carlos Huachin. When I was watching the tape on him, the guy has no takedown defense whatsoever. He comes out striking, throwing these wild punches. That's all good when you're on the amateur scenes and you're fighting lower caliber opponents. But this guy's now stepping into the UFC. Is about to face a guy in his hometown who has 10 times more experience. He's already fought in the UFC. He's on a winning streak, and yeah, I think it's going to be lights out for Carlos. I was kind of debating in the punch and parlay whether I should put Barcelos to finish the fight or whether I should put Clay Guida to finish the fight. I was tossing and turning. In the end, I did pick Clay, just based on BJ Penn's whatever that guy is doing right now. That guy's gone. Side note on BJ Penn, he's out of octagon. He's out of octagon lifestyle as well. The rumors that go around are not very pretty at all. Apparently, he's got a lot of medical issues that he ignores and he doesn't deal with. Apparently, he's an abuser. I could go on. I don't want to, start talking crap about BJ Penn, but yeah, he's gonna get knocked out of the weekend. Barcelos is gonna win. And then the final play on the punch and parlay is Irene Aldana, who is fighting Betch Kohea. Now, they just had the weigh-ins, and Betch has came in 5 or 6 pounds overweight, which can be worrying because she's going to have that extra power. But I don't even think she's going to get close to Irene. Irene's got the length. She's 10 times better at striking. Betch has done nothing ever, really, in the UFC. The only advantages now Betch has got is that she's fighting in Brazil and that she's heavier because she hasn't cut weight. The only advantages for Betch. She's never impressed me in any of her fights, really. Ronda Rousey knocked her out, and everybody knows that Ronda Rousey is not the greatest striker the UFC has ever seen. Holly Holm knocked her out as well. She has took a long break. But I think she's 36 or 35. There's not much she's going to come back with, I don't think. So Irene Aldana, Clay Guida inside the distance, and then Barcelos. That's the punch and parlay this week. And it's getting some good odds this week, actually. 2.69, I think the odds were. 2.69.
I like the Correa pick a lot. I completely agree with Dave. Correa's, she's basically a part-time fighter. She was originally supposed to fight Aldana in 2018. It didn't happen. She hasn't won a fight since 2017. She comes into the fight losing 2 of her last 3. She's never impressed me either. She's a slow fighter. She tries to do the majority of her work against the cage. She's given up a ton of height and reach. Aldana has a great frame for bantamweight, superior striking, her movement's really fluid, and Correa is going to be chasing her around the entire fight. She's a notorious slow starter. She drops the first round in every fight anyway. So it's going to be over before it starts. And 99% of women MMA fights go the distance. So I'm going to pray that this fight goes the distance. And I took her by decision at 2.0. That's what I took Aldana on at. You think it goes the distance, Dave?
I didn't want you to ask me that.
It's tough, right?
It's rough. You know why? Because I actually, when I look at Irene and her previous fights, she's got knockout power. She does have knockout power. We haven't seen it in the UFC, and. I think her previous 4 fights have gone the distance, Irene Aldana.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, her previous 4 fights have gone the distance. So, yeah, with that price and considering all of her UFC fights have gone to decision, Yeah, I think it will go. Yeah, it probably will go the distance. And knowing the female fights, it should go the distance.
Right.
But with Betch has got the extra weight now, so that should help the decision as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I do like that play actually. I do.
Yeah. Have you been on? Obviously, Jason's got a sports show as well on YouTube. The Sports Keg. Have you guys been on together? Do you guys discuss?
I haven't gotten him on the show yet, but he's in the chat. He's starting to come in the chat. I beg him to come on the show for fight casts.
Great stuff. Well, listen, Jay,
you have to remember,
I know
5 hours difference. That's the problem. So
I know, buddy.
When you're at home and you're like, you're chilling, it's evening time for you. For me, I have to be quiet. Kids are in bed, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I haven't wanted to come on. Do you know what? I'm gonna come on Saturday. That's it. You've done it. I'm coming on Saturday. What time do you go on?
Well, the card starts at 5 o'clock Eastern in the United States. So what's the 5-hour difference for you?
I'll come on for the main card. That's what I'll do.
Oh, okay. Sweet, man.
Yeah.
I'll be on for hours before that, all through the prelims. Yeah, it's been going well. We're up 130 units in 3 months.
There we go. And sorry, so where can our viewers now come see you? So because you pretty much film every night, don't you?
Yep, we'll be on tonight at 7 Eastern. Just go to the Sports Keg YouTube channel, and tonight is Kegcast 61. Can't wait.
Okay,
Dave and I hit 2 props in the NBA last night.
We didn't talk about the greatest Brazilian fighter to ever live.
That's true. That's true. Now, what a tough call, Dave. I love Volkanovski. My guess was sit back, enjoy the fight, and pray it goes the distance, and take that it goes the distance at 2.15. Think it's got a shot to go the distance?
Yeah, distance is exactly how I see it panning out. And from a betting perspective, you're right. There's no point in betting on this fight. There's no edge. Volkanovski, countless unknowns coming from his side. We know Jose Aldo. We know what he's going to bring. Him and Anderson Silva are the 2 greatest Brazilian fighters that have ever lived, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's going to be, for me anyway, it's going to be one of my favorite cards this year so far, I think.
Can't wait. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So very quickly, guys, because we've got to wrap up. We are actually running slightly late. Favorite bet this weekend, Jay?
Rose, Namajunas at plus or 2.0. Or Aldana by decision at 2.0.
There you go. Same question to you, DaveBets.
There is no one singular favorite bet for me. The punch and parlay is 10-0. 10 weeks. Oddsmarket.com. Go into betting tips. Go into the UFC fighting section, and then there's my favorite bet all laid out for you, written out.
I'll grab the link. All right, fantastic stuff. And you can follow Dave at DaveBets _ and then at the Sports Keg CEO on Twitter. Give these guys a follow, and hopefully, if you want more of them, you may see them both together on Saturday for the main event. All right, boys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and I'll see you next week. Best of luck.